Welcome to another deep dive into the world of combat sports video games. Today we'll be exploring the highs and lows of a once mighty franchise that left fans reminiscing about the good old days. I'm JMMA, and today we're going to be doing a complete retrospective of what happened to the Fight Night series. Chapter 1. The Golden Age. In the mid-2000s, the gaming community witnessed the birth of a revolutionary series, EA Fight Night. The franchise debuted in 2004, embracing a new era of boxing simulation. The graphics were groundbreaking, the controls were intuitive, and the career mode added a layer of depth that kept the players hooked. With total punch control, most maneuvers, including punching, leaning, and blocking, are performed with the left or right analog sticks, and they're modified with the left and right triggers. With the default control configuration, moving the right analog stick up and to the left will cause the fighter to throw a straight punch with his left hand, while holding down the right trigger while performing the same movement, then holding R1 will cause the fighter to raise his guard to the left side of his head, ready to attempt a parry. This was the total punch control in a completely changed combat sports video games forever. Sales of Fight Night 2004 surpassed 1 million units worldwide easily. By July 2006, the PlayStation 2 version of Fight Night 2004 had sold 850,000 copies and had earned $36 million in the United States. Next Generation ranked it as the 68th highest selling game launch for the PlayStation 2. Combined console sales of the Fight Night games released in the 2000s reached 2.5 million units in the United States by July 2006. Metacritic thought highly of the game, giving it an 85 out of 100, while Game Informer gave it a high score of 9 out of 10. The future was bright, and for the franchise of boxing games, it has seemed to make their mark in the gaming industry. 10 months later, the sequel was released, Fight Night Round 2. Fight Night Round 2 is famously known for being a video game Pretty Boy Floyd Mayweather Jr. has ever been in. It expands upon the total punch control scheme with the addition of another feature, the EA Sports Haymaker. An EA Sports Haymaker is a more powerful version of one of the basic power punches, hooks, and uppercuts, and it is performed by pulling the analog stick back while performing the movements for a regular punch. If it connected, a Haymaker caused quite a bit of damage. It staggered the victim and may cause an instant knockdown, regardless of the victim's health or stamina status. If blocked, the Haymaker does very little to no damage while consuming a great deal of stam from attacking the boxer. If it was parried, the attacker is pushed off balance and left vulnerable to a Haymaker or combination attack. Also, Fight Night Round 2 was the first game in the series to introduce online multiplayer. This game was groundbreaking simply for the Haymaker control alone. Chapter 2. The Peak. This leads us to arguably the best installment in a franchise, Fight Night Round 3. Not gonna lie, this is my personal favorite, so I'm probably gonna be a little bit biased. This game features the usual improvements such as better graphics and gameplay. It also introduced a mechanic called impact punches. They were one of the most drastic changes alongside the ESPN classic fights and a whole new career mode in which the player fights to gain popularity in order to reach sponsor fights or to be even featured on ESPN itself. Unlike in the older versions, Round 3 defaults without a heads-up display, aka a HUD, allowing a player to adjust the status of their stamina and energy based on the stance, movements, and facial features. The roster consisted of 27 licensed fighters in Fight Night Round 3 and allowed open weight bouts, so you can be a heavyweight fighting a lightweight fighter. The official roster allows recreations of such fights as James Toney versus Roy Jones Jr., and the game had been released for 7 other video game consoles in different versions between different consoles. The cover art featured Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward for PS2 and original Xbox versions, while Oscar De La Hoya was on the cover for PS3 and Xbox 360 versions. As years passed, the franchise continued to evolve. Well, sort of. Fight Night Round 4 released in 2009, and man, was it a whole new game. Now, rumor has it that the game files for Fight Night Round 3 development were lost because the franchise switched studios to now known EA Canada. EA Canada was going to use the same format of Fight Night Round 3 and expand upon it, but since, quote unquote, allegedly, the files were lost, they had to build from the ground up. The total punch scheme was originally originally planned, like the previous Fight Night games, and it was going to be brought into Fight Night Round 4. But after fans complained about using the total punch scheme, they completely took it out and brought a whole new control scheme that did suffer from clusters in the demo. But eventually the game was released with the new control scheme fixed, and like previous installments, the game was very well received commercially. Game Informer gave it a 9 out of 10. While IGN gave it an 8.8. Sadly, in my opinion, this is the last great boxing game we've gotten because the next installment turns the tide for the worse. Chapter 3, The Downfall begins. Fight Night Champion, released in 2011, pushed the boundaries further. It introduced a gripping narrative-driven story mode that captivated players, offering a fresh take on the traditional sports game formula. The storytelling in Fight Night Champion was akin to a cinematic experience, addressing mature themes and adding a layer of emotional depth to the series. It also earned critical acclaim and elevated the series into a stratosphere it's never seen before. But now looking back at it, while Fight Night Champion is still kinda replayable, it does not hold up well compared to the rest of the franchise. Dr. Stoppages were initially planned to be in the game, but the first day after release, they were taken out because of how broken they were. Unrealistic punch animations and movement, and to put the cherry on top, the roster had a low count of boxers, so to fill it out, story mode boxers were added to fill out the main roster. But unfortunately, some good things must come to an end. After the release of Fight Night Champion, a strange silence enveloped the series. Fans eagerly waited the news for the next installment, but years passed without any significant updates. EA Sports seemed to shift its focus towards other franchises, leaving boxing enthusiasts wondering if the bell had rung for the Fight Night series. The absence of a new title left a void in the gaming community, and whispers of the downfall began to circulate. The once thriving community of Fight Night fans turned to social media to express their frustrations and hopes for a revival. Fans even took matters into their own hands by creating a stunning concept art for potential Fight Night games and launching a petition to grab EA's attention. The passion for the series was evident, but EA remained silent, leaving fans in suspense. But finally, there is some great news. After many years, EA has announced that once they are finished cleaning up development for UFC 5, they will focus attention and bring back the Fight Night series. But the rise and fall of the EA Fight Night series was a story of innovation, success, and ultimately neglect. Hopefully, once they bring back this franchise, that changes. However, the absence of the brand new installment has left fans yearning for the return to the virtual boxing octagon. With games like Undisputed and Boxer's Road, they're trying to fill that void by playing games that they know don't compare to the Fight Night series. Will EA ever answer the bell and resurrect the Fight Night series correctly? Only time will tell. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the virtual landscape of combat sports. It's been JMMA. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay up, stay blessed.